is it so important to be able to advocate for allyship in the workplace and in general society?
There's a phrase that says culture eats strategy for breakfast. When we talk about allyship, if we want to separate the two, we're generally talking about people that don't fall into those categories that surround us. That's the way I view it. And if you've got those people that surround you that have taken on the mantle of an ally, what you will find is the culture then begins to shift right through. And the knock-on effect is anyone new coming into the organisation, the business, that space, instantly can see the culture, instantly can see how people work, how people function within that. And for me, that is why allyship, or getting people on board, or getting people just to understand, is so important. You don't always need to agree, but there needs to be that mutual respect. And that for me is it. Because we won't always agree. You might love the colour blue, I might love the colour orange. We'll agree on that as, you know, enjoying those colours. But what's really important within that is that we value other people's opinions, we value other people's thoughts. When we look at the core of a business or the core of an organisation or a community, the culture that's within that needs to then stretch out to those who are further away from it, or those that are coming towards it, because then instantly any new person coming in can then see straight away what the culture is like, and that is really important.
As you said, we're all different in our lived experiences, what we like, our favourite colours. We all have differences, but when it comes to allyship, we have to meet that mutual respect. When it comes to people that maybe don't meet those values, or maybe possibly could be discriminating and going against those things, how do you call that out?
That's a really good question. That's a really good question. Because normally what you find is those people are set in their ways, and it's how they think, it's been passed on to them. Because again, I don't believe anyone is born, being discriminative. It's something that's learnt. It's really how we bring them on that journey. That is an important piece. We might not change minds, and again, we've got to be okay with that. But what we want to do is ensure that we are able to bring them on a journey, and a journey starts from where they are. It doesn't start from where we are. It starts from where they are. And if that is really gentle steps, then gentle steps it will be for however long a period. When we are trying to challenge people's views, perspectives, relationship is key. Because if you're coming in cold and you're trying to change or challenge someone's perspective, not having had a relationship with them, it's going to be really difficult, and they will come up very defensive. So the way I try and the approach that I try and take is to build a relationship with that individual. Again, understand their needs, because again, they fall within a characteristic. How we begin the conversation, how we move on the conversation, is then based on that relationship, and based on where they're at. So in summary, relationship is really, really key. Where we start is also really, really key, but it's understanding that we start at their journey, or rather start from where they are rather than where we think they should be or where we are as individuals.
Yeah, how do you build that connection with someone, especially if you have got such opposing opinions and you're a bit like, do I really want to connect with this person? Like, what would be the first steps that you would take to do that?
People are people, and we'll always find some commonality. And it's just a case of really digging. Sometimes you've got to dig really deep. But we'll always find something that we do have in common. Even the fact that, we've got two eyes, we've got one nose, we've got two ears, that's something that is common. However, when you're working with, or if we're trying to get to a point whereby we want to find something that something socially that we have in common, that in itself might take a bit more question and answer, if you like, at early stages. However, there will get to a point where you might not have anything in common, or in the situation you find yourself, you don't have anything in common. The easiest thing is to just move away, and sometimes that is okay in those situations. And you will, in any walk of life, I find where I've just had to walk away from certain situations because it either isn't conducive or it's not moving forward. And that's, again, really important to understand, but also to be okay with, because it's not a failure. It's an understanding of a situation and really reading the situation of, actually, this situation's not going to where I need to. Maybe I can revisit it later. Sometimes you won't revisit it at all, and that is okay. So you've got to be okay with that. But really finding that common thread. And I think the more that we spend time with people, we'll begin to find, actually, we've got a lot more in common than we know.
Absolutely. I think the main thing that you talked about is that we're all different, but we're all human as well. We've all got the same emotions and we feel the same things. It's just lived experiences, and who we represent is completely different from one another. And especially in today, there are so many conversations to be had about diversity, whether that's with gender, sexuality, race, religion, disability. I could go on. There's so many different conversations and so many words and language changing and so much going on. With all of these conversations to have with diversity, what are your top tips to being a better ally, especially in the workplace?
For me, it boils down to one simple thing: is treat other people how you would like to be treated, or how you want to be treated. And I say that because that encompasses a lot. It encompasses the language that we use. It encompasses the speech language as well as the body language. It encompasses thoughts as well. It encompasses interaction with people at different levels. So say from the cleaner or the person that you see at the front desk right through to the manager or CEO. How we interact with people is really important. It's important that we interact and we treat each other how we want to be treated. And I think when we hold that in that space, or when we carry that thought into work, home, our communities, our interactions become very, very different. When we look at it from the perspective of meeting someone from the first time, if we meet people that look like us or from similar backgrounds as us, our interaction with them is generally positive. When we meet people that are from different backgrounds, don't look like us, our interactions are generally guarded, sometimes negative for people. So for me, it's actually, when we walk into a space, how do you want to be treated at that first moment? I think research shows that within 30 seconds of meeting someone, we've already made an assumption of who they are or what they like or their lifestyle. And that's, without even have had a conversation with them. So for me, it's really important that we echo those words of, how do I want to be treated? And how I want to be treated is exactly how I'm going to treat this individual sat in front of me, or stood in front of me, or sat next to me on the bus or on the train, or wherever that might be. And then we'll really begin to see a shift in society.
Definitely. You've very much said my life motto is treat people the way that you would want to be treated, because that's absolutely how we need to be able to interact with other people and collectively be, as a society, like that. We've had a lot of conversations about, as an individual, what we can do. But how can we collectively, as a society, work together to create a more inspiring society that can allow us all to thrive?
So it goes back to my previous point, one of my previous points around learning, is just, how are we learning from others? How are we connecting with other people? And how we connect as well is really important. I love how the world has shrunk in that we can connect with people thousands of miles away at the touch of a button, and we can learn about their environment, we can learn about their communities at a touch of a button. The more we learn, the more empathy develops. We take on that understanding. We begin to place ourselves almost in their positions. What would I do? How would I manage with that situation? Then and only then we'll begin to think, right, think a little bit softer towards people, or we act softer towards people. And by the term softer, I mean, again, it's that empathy. We take more time with individuals, and I think that in itself is important.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having this conversation with me. I feel like I've learned quite a fair bit, and I think some of the stuff that you're doing is absolutely amazing, and I look forward to seeing what you do in the future.
Thanks for having me.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Cheers.